admitted a mistake like that on something that, they should have known better. It should have been pretty obvious that that was the way it was going to work. But, I told people, I said, I hope that y'all will all be here to support me again in 2 weeks when it starts over. And so far everybody has said, hey, Max, just remind us, just let us know when it's time to go again, and we'll be there for you. And that's just one example. I tell people all the time, life ain't the Olympics, so stop trying to win those style points. I'm doing my best to show people that we don't have to be afraid to be honest online, and that for the most part, if you are, people are going to be supportive of you, unless you were one of those, arrogant, I'm better than the rest of y'all type people to start with. Then they'll jump all over you.
Yeah, and honesty and transparency is so important these days, because that really shows people your character and your integrity. Is when you're honest and transparent, then integrity shines through. And so that at the end of the day is something that we should cherish in all of our actions, I think.
Yeah. I've been told that I am brutally honest, and that I approach the world with a wide-eyed wonder. So,
that's a good way to be.
Yeah.
It's a good way to be. I mean, people don't wonder where they stand, when you're very honest with them. So, it's always better to be honest and then, ask for forgiveness than to not be honest and then ask for permission later.
Yeah, I just wish we could teach our elected officials, our bureaucratic agents, quite a large number of the staff at businesses we do business with every day. I just wish it would become a more common thing, because, nobody is perfect, but how many times have you seen a company just totally ruin their image because of not being willing to say, okay, we messed up, we're sorry, here's what we're going to do to fix it?
Yeah, it may hurt. It may hurt in the very beginning, but in the long run, you're going to recoup because of being honest.
Yeah.
And if you're not honest, then you may not take those upfront losses, but in the end, you're going to lose a lot more.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
So, what do you think? Maybe some of the things that, especially for new entrepreneurs, maybe that they should be looking for, avoiding, that will keep them from giving up or failing in business?
I would say trying to avoid the overwhelm, because when you're starting a new business, you're going to be imagining or seeing so many things that you feel like you ought to be doing or need to be doing, and you're not going to be able to do them all, and you certainly won't be able to do them all right away. And so you have to focus on some of the things that you can actually take action on. And I've come up with a 4-question method that I like to share with business owners that I think makes it a little easier. One is, if you have that big long list of stuff that you think you need to be doing, then you want to break it down. You want to approach each item as a question and ask yourself, can I do this? If you can do it, then you take action on it immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. If you can't do it, then you say, okay, if I can't do it, can I get somebody to teach me how to do it? And if it's something that you believe you can learn, then you make arrangements to start your training. You reach out to a mentor, you sign up for a college class or a workshop or something, and you start the learning process. Okay. If you can't do it and you can't learn it, then can you get somebody else to do it for you? And that could mean hiring somebody, or it could mean just being willing to ask people for help and let people know what your needs are. Because of this transparency we were just talking about, there have been many times where people have done work for me either for free or for less than they would usually charge, because they knew I had a sincere wish to accomplish a goal, and they wanted to be part of that. They wanted to help me with that. And in some cases, they also wanted a testimonial. They wanted to be able to say that they helped me do something, and I'm totally fine with that. So if you can get somebody else to do it, then great. Hire it out, farm it out. Talk to a family member. If you can't do it, you can't learn it, and you can't get somebody else to do it, then you put it off to the side and do your best to ignore it and focus on the things that you can actually do something about. every so often go back and look at your list again, because some of those things that you can't do now are going to eventually move to different categories as you grow and become more capable and more talented. I like to look back at when I first started my first website 11 years ago. I didn't even know where to go to file my domain name. I knew absolutely nothing. And I started by, getting a domain name and then building a website. And then after that, it was starting a blog, and it was social media, it was email list. It wasn't like I was doing all those things at the same time every day. I was doing what I felt like was the most important next step, and I was asking questions, asking for help, trying things and seeing if they worked or if they didn't work, and if they didn't work, trying to figure out why. If they did work, trying to figure out, well, what can I do to make them work even better next time? So, that's what I did along the way. And, I never planned on writing a book. Now I've written 3. I would have 5 years ago, I would have never thought about going to New York City by myself and spending 2 weeks in the Big Apple. So as you go along in your process, you're going to get more confidence in yourself. You're going to learn new things. You're going to find skills that you didn't know you ever had. And eventually some of those things in the 4th category will move over. So if you can do it, do it. If you can't, learn it. If you can't do it or learn it, get help. If you can't do it, learn it, or get help, ignore it until you can.
Sounds like a pretty good system. And that leads me to part of my next thinking here is people creating strategies and plans within their business. Do you feel that that's something that people really should do, not only just having the strategies, but even the good old-fashioned business plan and financial plan for their business, something that they should do sooner rather than later?
I think there is a value in a business plan and a marketing plan, but I also think there's a value in looking at that plan on a regular basis and figuring out what's working and what isn't working. Figure out what assumptions you made that are correct and which ones turned out to be totally wrong. And because some people, they make a plan and they are married to that plan. That plan might as well be tattooed on their arm or painted on the side of their house, and they cannot deviate from it. But I would say a good plan is a good starting point, just like a good schedule for your workday is a good starting point. We all know that throughout the day, if we just look at one day, throughout that day, things are going to change based on things that will come up that you didn't plan on doing, things that took longer than you expected to, projects that maybe you weren't planning on starting that particular day, but here they are. But I think that a good plan is a good place to start. Just don't be too wedded to it that you can't make changes and that you can't realize that changes are necessary.
Yeah, something I've found in my experience in business, coming from the financial planning side of the business planning world, is that you really want to have a good plan, yes, but you also want it to be flexible, because things will pop up. It's like the thing that jumps out at you as you're driving down the road. Things will happen. Things will spring up, and you have to be able to flex and move with what comes your way, because otherwise you're too rigid, and then you're not able to avoid those hazards as they come up. So you always
I imagine
a door number 2.
Yeah, I imagine that's especially true with financial planning, because so many people are so close to their income versus expenses that it doesn't take much of an emergency for somebody's financial plan to have to change.
Yeah. Even just getting sick. Something a lot of people don't think about is what happens if you get sick and you can't work. You still have to make a paycheck. So what are you going to do? Even things just as simple as that is you have to think about it. So what are some of the things resource-wise, Max, that you've run across that maybe you would recommend somebody starting out look for? Resources and support groups and what have you that have been helpful for you.
Okay. Well, one thing I would say is that if you're going to be doing online business, one of the things they're going to tell you that you need to have is an email client where you can send out a mass email to people as you accumulate email addresses. And I know a lot of people prefer to use like Constant Contact or Aweber or some of the more complex ones with lots of extra features. But for me, I like to keep it simple. I don't like anything I use to be so complicated that I dread doing it to the point that I don't do it. So I use Mad Mimi. They're very reasonably priced, and they have amazing customer service. If there's anything I can't do, they will either talk me through it, or I can just send them an email and say, look, here's the email I wrote. Here's who I want to send it to. Here's when I want to send it. And here's an image I'd like to add to it when I send it. Would y'all do that? And they almost always are like, sure, Mr. Ivey. Well, they may sometimes say, give us an hour and we'll get it done for you. But especially if you're one of these people who has trouble with technology and with online platforms and things like that, I would say that Mad Mimi is well worth their investment. And they don't even offer an affiliate link, so I'm not getting paid for mentioning them. Okay. And another thing is, we are using a platform called Zoom, which I love. It's very user-friendly for everybody, especially for us blind people. They have loads of keyboard commands. And if you're going to be connecting with people, you need to have conversations or meetings online. I definitely would recommend Zoom because it's reasonably priced again. It's very easy to use. And it is so much more reliable than Skype. It's so much more professional than Facebook Live or YouTube Live. If you want to make a good impression while having an online meeting in the early days, then I would definitely recommend Zoom. There are a few communities online that have been really helpful to me over the years. There's a group called AHA Now, which is AHA-NOW.com, and very helpful community to bloggers and podcasters and online business people, very supportive. And, just in many cases, people I have met along the way by being willing to let people know what I'm up to and what I'm trying to accomplish. So I would say one of the resources that you shouldn't overlook is just the people that you come in contact with online on a regular basis. I mean, every time somebody connects with you on Facebook or sends you an email through your contact form or replies to something you've written online, every time that happens, it's an opportunity to find out a little more about them, say hello, try to become friends and build a relationship, because you never know where those introductions will work. One of the things I tell people all the time, it's a great side benefit to doing interviews like this, is most people that I do a show with, a year, 2, 3 years later, we still exchange emails. They become part of my community. They become friends, and they become people who I like to help whenever possible. Many of them tag me on social media, and I share their content. And it's just a real great way to get to know somebody. I mean, because we're going to have, hour conversation, and we're going to probably know each other better than most people will who see each other face to face. But this is a great opportunity because you're going to find out things about me and vice versa. Like, I had no idea that your family was Native American. That's as an example.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and those are definitely valuable things and relationships as well. Like you were mentioning, spending time, being on this podcast for an hour here. Even the listeners here, they're learning about the two of us quite a bit, and that adds to their network, and so it adds value to the people that they know, because when that question comes up of, do you know somebody that does, and then fill in the blank, they're able to call back on that recollection, and then they do know somebody, and they're able to add value to that relationship.
I really like the way you put that.
So what is something that you've learned throughout life that maybe you wish you had done way back when that you did not do, that you probably have I wouldn't say necessarily regret, but that you've learned is important, that you